Welcome to Dark Sorcery. I'm Alfredo Martinez, and I have Paolo DelPrete,
DelPrete. It's all
DelPrete,
right. It's all right.
Paolo DelPrete, and it's good to have you on, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. This has been a long time coming. I know you work a lot with the other guys in the cult of Belial. So
Yeah,
this is exciting for me. This is really exciting. Thanks for asking me to be on the show.
you're very welcome. I think that is a solid team, solid group. Everybody who's watching, go to YouTube, look up Cult of Belial, the channel, subscribe. They got a lot of good stuff on that. But yeah, Paulo, let's go ahead and talk about your background. So, how did your magical path begin?
So, I'm gonna start before I started practicing because growing up, I always had like these paranormal and magical experiences. Like ever since I can remember, I'd always deal with things like sleep paralysis or seeing entities in my space. And being raised Catholic, I was always taught that, hey, these things are bad. You got to shut these things down. So growing up, I shut these things down. And there was a point in my life where I really didn't feel very religious anymore. I wasn't sure if there was anything at all, but like I would read all these things like the Testament of Solomon and just become enamored with everything in these occult books, dude. And I would read up on these things, and there was a point, I want to say probably like, I don't know, 2-ish years ago, give or take, where I reached a certain pain threshold where I did not want to feel that pain anymore. And I was just willing to accept help wherever I could find it. And these topics and these occult subjects kept coming back up through synchronicities and in my YouTube feeds and on Facebook. And these are things that I hadn't looked up in a long, long time. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it, we're gonna try it. And that's sort of just been like my mindset. I jumped right in, the no bars hold, and I did I think it was like a cord cutting ritual for myself, and it worked. And after it worked, I was really surprised and taken back. Well, I was like, well, if I could do this, I wonder what else this holds for me. And I started researching invocations, started practicing that, started I really wanted to get good at communicating with these entities, because there are so many topics and books out there. You can get really lost, in all these different subjects and all these different traditions and paths. But I knew that if I could communicate with these entities, I could learn directly from them. And that's exactly what I did. I started developing my clairsenses. By the time I started invoking too, I had already been doing thought observation and thought discipline meditations probably for a year or so prior. So I became pretty good at being able to discern what was coming from me and what was coming from spirits. And the
Mm,
more that I connected with these spirits, the more that I could understand the message that they were giving to me. And when I came across, or when I started working with Belial, this is actually how I came into the cult of Belial. He had given me a sigil, and he did not tell me how to use it. And my obsessive brain was like, okay, well, I'm going to find some people who work with Belial as well, and I'm going to ask them. So I found the group on Facebook. I joined it, started asking. I think I asked Sander and some of the other admins, uh, and I love that group. Sometimes I feel like somebody said my name 3 times in a mirror, and then now I'm just here. Like
yeah.
but being part of that group has really helped me develop and become better at my own practice because there aren't when you don't get a whole lot of opportunity to talk about these things like person to person, in your daily life. There's a
No.
lot of people, there's a lot of stigma behind witchcraft, and especially when you start working with infernals, there's a hell of a lot of stigma that
Right.
comes with that. And just having these communities online has been such a blessing in my life
It is. I
And
mean, and just I would say just being in that Facebook group, the Cult of Belial Facebook group. There's so much information that is very good for whether you're a beginner or advanced. I find myself becoming a better person just being in that and reading up on stuff.
oh,
But
absolutely, dude.
yeah, but I mean, you had your background seems sort of a little similar to mine. I mean, I grew up Christian, but then I started questioning everything and reading different books and experimenting and finding out, hey, this works, you know. And then eventually start working with different deities. But what would you say was your first holy shit moment in Magic where you're like, wow, this really works? It actually, you did something and you see the results.
Um, dude, this is gonna sound really bad, but it was one of my first very effective baneful attacks. I was working on astral weaponry. I talked about this in a previous video. I think it was like one of the first videos that I did in our YouTube channel. But I had been taught how to forge astral weaponry by Azazel, and I knew what it did to spirits, but I didn't know what it did to people. And an opportunity came
Yeah,
along, dude. I'm not gonna get into too much details, but it,
yeah,
it went way further than I had ever expected. And that was like the
yeah.
first moment where I was like, this isn't just in my head, dude. This is fucking affecting not just my world, but other people's worlds. Like it was definitely like a goddamn moment. And then there's other moments where, I'm sure you've probably had experiences like this, but
Yeah.
sometimes spirits don't always get along with you. I've upset Azazel before, and having a pissed off demon show up in the middle of your room, not a really great experience, like impending doom, you
No,
know.
I've been there, man.
But yeah, it's me and Azazel are cool now, of course,
Yeah,
but um that's another like one of those oh shit moments.
yeah. Well, I mean, you learn, but I would say maybe it's sort of like tough love. Like you need to learn something, but I'm just gonna be straight up. They'll just be like, I'm just gonna be straight up with you. Here's how it is. Bam. You had mentioned working with Belial, he'll definitely take you out of your comfort zone,
Oh
you know,
yeah, absolutely.
which is why some people may have hesitation to working with him. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I completely spaced. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. I was watching one of your YouTube videos and you said something that really caught my attention. You said people who seek power end up being disappointed, and people who seek knowledge gain the power they were looking for, but lose the necessity to use it. That's very true. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so I think so a lot of these like channelings, a lot of these phrases like that I received from spirits, I don't know
Yeah.
who it came from, but it most of the time it happens like in my shower. There's something magical about being underneath running water, just being like really relaxed and being in the moment.
Yeah.
And sitting down and meditating on stuff like that, like a lot of people that I come across, especially like being an admin in a group, like they want things. They want the girl, they want the money. They're seeking material things as like a quick fix. It's almost like a drug. I need material things to make my life happy, you know when when we start searching for knowledge, this is true for me, when we start like doing that really deep uh inner alchemy, you know a lot of times these things will just come to us naturally. Like I'll give you an example, dude. Like I've just been meditating and doing the mundane life of working a normal job. And
Mhm.
one thing that has happened, this actually happened today, was one of my good friends at my job was like, "Hey, dude, you've driven my Jeep before. This is a really nice car. We just bought another car, and we want to give you first grabs for this. And they're giving me a decent deal on this. And this is something that I don't really need, but it's like it's one of those things where like it came my way, and I'm open to receive that. you
Mm.
know, and that's another cool thing that happens. But um I have found that like you know, looking for money or looking for women or things like that, you know, of course, like if I wanted to do spells or rituals to get those things, I could absolutely do it. I have the full knowledge on how to do these things, but from doing the inner alchemy, like I'm really at peace, you know, and I'm always looking for that next thing that I can work on because I don't want to become comfortable in the point where like I stop growing because I feel like that does a disservice
No.
to me and that does a disservice now being in the position that I'm in, uh, you know, sharing the stuff that I channel and coming on YouTube and sharing what I know to try to help the next person.
Right. Well, the way I look at it is, you know, if you want, money and girls and that type of thing, you can do spells to get it. But the thing is that if you haven't grown enough spiritually, you won't be able to hold on to those things. Now, if you work on yourself, yes, they may come naturally, or you may get things that you didn't even know that you wanted. So I would say it's better to work on yourself instead of focusing on the material things, and then everything will fall into place. If you focus on the material things at first before growing, your whole world could come crashing down and it could destroy you. What do you think
Yeah,
about that?
absolutely. Absolutely, dude. So that's actually something that Lucifuge told me very early on. I signed a pact with him, I think close to about a year ago now. And one of those things is like, okay, I want to learn all about money magic. I want to learn about packs. I want to learn about, you know, how do I grow into you know, uh, having a better magical career. And one of the first things that he had me do that did not make sense to me at the time. I don't know if I've ever talked about this before, but this right here is carnelian, right? And I charged this. He gave me a charging sigil and words of power, and he said, "You're gonna put this on this charging sigil for 7 weeks. You're gonna spend 10 minutes a day chanting over this." And the purpose for this, when I asked him about this, was, you know, if you give a child $1 million, what's he gonna do with it? You know, I have to be able to fully receive the benefits of having the capability of having that money, so to speak. And I didn't know this about carnelian either, but I don't know what time period it was, but kings used to wear this in abundance to show their status. Um, and it's a very he also told me that carnelian can hold quite a bit more energy than other crystals, which was news to me. You know, I really don't know anything about crystals. The crystals that I do have, it's because an entity came to me and was like, hey, you know, get this, or you need to use this for a spell, or grab this for a ritual. I think I grabbed the clear quartz
Right.
last weekend. I had made a large blood pool. And I talked about this before, but I did a ritual over the weekend to turn the monument in the center of my city into like a giant radio tower to funnel energy into that crystal so that I can vampirize and feed off of this passively. And the night that I came home after doing that ritual and sat in that bed, let me tell you something. It felt like I was in a hot tub. It was so comforting and relaxing and just all over, just all over.
Sweet, man. Yeah, they can sometimes the way they tell you to do things can seem a little far out there, but it's just because you don't necessarily see what they see. They're seeing things from a much broader, much more ancient, viewpoint than us. But now you said something else that caught my attention as well. You said um, magic directed at yourself is always better than magic to try to force somebody to do something you want them to do. And I think that that's a very mature statement because again, with the inner alchemy, you know, if you if you work on yourself, you may not want that person to do that anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
That could save you a whole lot of trouble, save you a trip, I guess you could say.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So, and this more goes in line with, uh, there's like a lot of people. I'm gonna jump back to this, dude. But a lot of people will want like love spells, obsession spells, and things like that. And it's like, well, have you thought about what kind of person you are? Like, are you the kind of person that you would date? Um, And if you sit there and meditate on that, like a lot of times the answer is like, well, what do I bring to the table? So if a good approach, a good thing that I always advise people to do if they are trying to use magic to influence another person is like, dude, just cast glamour on yourself and speak to that person. That you don't really need much else than that. Of course you fucking uh, you know, do some crazy obsession type stuff, dude, but I have found that glamour works really, really well for me. And not just that, but like when you're casting on yourself, you get to feel it. You get to feel that magic. There's like this rush of energy that happens, and you can get that confidence. And another thing about confidence too, if you start invoking, solar energies, if you need confidence for the day, or you need
Mm.
confidence for the week, or you make a regular practice of invoking these different planetary energies, one thing that happens is, yes, yourself does change, but these planets, these celestial powers, they have the power to do big changes around you too. So when you're casting on yourself, a lot of things just move into place. And one thing that uh, part of the doing the inner alchemy too is realizing our true will. Aleister Crowley said, "Do what thou will," and that doesn't mean just do whatever you want. That means you have a will here, your spirit has a will here, but your ego gets in the way a lot. Now there are ways to make the higher self fall in line with the ego, or you can sort of try to find that balance point where your physical body and your higher self are so in line that it feels like nothing can stop you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, when you mentioned that when you have a clear goal, uh, you get results instantly. Um, I think some people tend to go into ritual and maybe not be so clear-headed as to what it is they want.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's when you do that, it's kind of like I guess you could say not having a clear aim, or
Right.
how how the Bible would say being equally yoked, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of like specific examples of me where I was just so in the moment. I think the ritual that I did last weekend, where it's like I was in the moment, and doing a ritual in public too is like it can be kind of scary,
mm,
but it was one of those things that like once I started getting going, once I just relaxed and started focusing on what I needed to do, it was like nothing else around me mattered. It was just me, what I came there to do, and that monument. And I started, and I did not care about anything else at all.
mm,
And this happens a lot too, like healing rituals. If I'm really, really invested in healing people, my mom, she knows that I do some of this stuff. To what extent? I try to keep that a secret because she doesn't need to know to what extent.
right, right.
But this is just one of those minor things. She had a toothache, and I love my mother. I would do anything for my mother. And I was like, Mom, I got you. I got this. And I was able to alleviate that and like again, almost instantly. And it was one of those things that after I did the ritual, I came back downstairs after, I was visiting them. I said, Mom, how's your teeth feel? And she didn't even notice that it had gone away. She goes, Oh my God, Paolo, thank you. Um, I would say that like doing rituals for friends, in order to like get them through something else. It is another one of those things where it's like I get so in the moment where it's like I don't know if this is like an ego thing too, but it's like I almost want to show them that it's like, hey man, like I can like you gave me an opportunity. I'm going to take this and show you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And doing a lot of these rituals out of like brotherly and sisterly love, dude. It's I don't know. I really don't
It's
really have any
fulfilling.
words for it. It
It's
is
fulfilling.
fulfilling. Thank you.
It's like you didn't before you're like kind of, well, whatever, you may feel unbalanced, but you tend to feel just like everything is the way it should be when
Hmm.
you kind of help people. But it also helps you grow as well. Now you had mentioned healing. I think some people try to do that, but then they don't realize that they need, sometimes that needs chakra work, because if
Hmm.
your chakras are not, you know, cleansed or um, aligned, it can be hard for the energy to flow through you.
Hmm.
So I think that's something else that some people tend to not work on too much.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this goes right back in line with like not doing the inner and personal work.
Mm,
Um, and you know, alongside chakras, one thing that I feel like a lot of people should be exploring as well is like the tree of life and the clippeth. You know, those two things, they're kind of different sort of energy systems, they're different philosophies, but a lot of them closely mirror each other. You know, you got Kether up here at the top, you got the crown chakra up here at the top, you got Dath right here at the throat chakra. And this
mm,
is, the throat chakra is for communication, and Dath it means knowledge in Hebrew.
mm,
So a lot of times when we're able to communicate clearly with people or with spirits, we can give and receive knowledge. You know, the Tippereth is for healing. Tippereth is the sphere of the sun. So a lot of healing can come from here. You can actually burn away a lot of impurities in
working with
yourself.
your solar plexus, yeah.
Hmm. Um, and I think a lot of people will skip over that. I know I certainly did. When I started, I certainly skipped over that. You know, I didn't know how important it was when I started sitting down and raising stuff up through my root and communicating with. I think Belial gave me a chance to clear up minor blockages so that I could then begin to work on stuff. And I've
Mm,
received several different kinds of meditations from Azazel to clear up even more blockages. And it's like everything just started opening up. I'll say another thing too. I think diet and exercise can help a lot. And these are two things that I suck at. This is one of those things where I know that if I had a better diet, if I quit
yeah,
vaping, that I could open up more. But looking from where I was at to
yeah,
now, it's like I'm not gonna not give myself credit for how far I've come. There's I was able to get off MATs with the help of Belial. You know, that's a big
right.
achievement. There's some people that are on MATs for life. You know,
Mm,
I thought I was going to be on it for life, and simply wasn't the case. Not with the help of spirits and not with the willingness to be able to do the work that's asked of me.
mm. Yeah, you'd mentioned diet is a big part. Sometimes I admit I'll fall victim to that. Every time I drive past a taco truck, I'm just like, I just have to partake. But
Hmm.
it does take discipline. It's a process. I'm curious, what occult books have inspired you?
So the biggest one for me, this actually, I wasn't even looking for this book. You know, I had asked Azazel in a ritual. I really wanted to advance my energy working practice, and he said, "Well, you're really good with working with fire. You should work with all the elements and really really connect with them." And then I had somebody DM me. It was like, "Paula, have you checked out this book? It's Initiation into Hermetics." You know, and then opening up that book and finding, hey, we're working with elements here, we're doing astral work, we're doing this, we're doing that. And one of the first practices they have you do in that book is thought observation and thought discipline. There's a lot of stuff that I had been doing for a while before I came across that book, and I was like, I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know anybody wrote about this. I thought I was coming up with something new here, but nothing's really unique. But there's a lot of good stuff in that book. Specifically when it comes to the author has a great way of explaining shape shifting and astral projection, and it's different exercises in order to develop yourself. It's a self-initiation book. And I also got some of the techniques for manipulating the weather from that book. And of course, sometimes I'll invoke Baal to help with manipulating a storm or delaying a storm, just to see better techniques. What can he give me on top of what I know? And there's a plethora of good stuff in that book. There's a lot of language in it that I still don't understand. Like they talk about electric energy and magnetic energy and electric magnetic energy. I think that has something to do with like masculine and feminine energies. It's just different words. I'm not entirely sure. That's one of those things where I would probably need somebody who is like thoroughly seasoned in hermetics to walk me through what that means. And that's not one of those things that you can really find online. What other books? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can't think of anything.
You have like a favorite author that you like to reference back to every now and then, see what they come out?
Yes, I will say another person whose books I absolutely love, Damien Eccles. He does a lot of work with angels. His views are a little bit different than mine, but he walks through a lot of the Golden Dawn rituals and then experiments that he went through. Doing the lesser banishing or the lesser pentagram rituals.
I've found the Golden Dawn rituals to be very helpful in my growth when I was beginning.
Oh, absolutely. When I'm showing people how to do energy work and how energy moves, I always teach them, hey, do the lesser banishing ritual. That will show you how energy moves, and then when you start invoking, that will show you how energy gets taken into you, and it also does one thing that it's great about teaching people how to do is breath work, visualization, and vibrating names. Like those three things is like what I do anytime I'm doing a ritual, anytime I'm doing a spell. Those three things I'm doing all the time. That's like the foundational thing.
I've incorporated them as well in my magical practice. I found Israel Regardie to be very helpful in explaining things. But yeah, man, I always like to get people's take on occult books because I have a great occult library myself, and it's just fun. I'm a very studious person, and I think everybody becomes one on this path. Now, one thing I did want to mention is you had mentioned that there's different people you come across in the occult. You said that there's people who want imaginary friends, there's people who are delusional, and there's people who are seeking power.
Yeah. Oh my God. I just came across somebody like this today, dude. So this is another Facebook thing, and I don't know why this bugs me so much, but this is what they said. They said the real prophets are in mental hospitals and jails, and then they said, prove me wrong. And I said, no, they're mentally ill. I don't care what kind of stuff they could possibly have to say. Like any mystic or any person who's followed any like tradition or mystery school is gonna call them a fucking loony. Like that's you. Sure, there might be some gifted people that just found themselves in a psych ward, but I'm not gonna take any kind of spiritual advice from them, dude. Look where they're at.
I think that people like that may not be able, if they do successfully contact a deity, they may not be able to differentiate between that deity and a trickster spirit. So that already throws up a red flag to me. That's just my opinion. But I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't want to take advice from someone like that.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
they're not balanced at all.
Right. And it's like this is when you're practicing occult things, when you're practicing any kind of ritual magic at all, dude, your feet have to be firmly planted on the ground and
Yeah.
you keep your head to the heavens.
Hmm.
You know, that's
That's very true. Very true, man. Um, Now you're a member of the Cult of Belial group admin team. Is there anything that you guys are working on, or anything you specifically are working on that you want to go ahead and plug?
I know that I'm not sure how much of this I can share, but I know me and the admins are working on something really special.
Okay.
This is separate from the book. We've mentioned the book before. The book is still an ongoing process. This coming weekend, I will be purchasing a new laptop and I'll be compiling and cleaning up everything that we have now. There's still a couple things that I would like to add to the book as far as like, practical magic to manifest things in your life. Um, I will just say though that I don't know how fast this is gonna get done, but I would say a good goal for us would be like within the next year, we're going to have something very, very special for people who want to be a part of something bigger, but can't find that. If you're part of this group, you'll find out first, and it's going to be important. This is really important to me. This has been like one of my dreams
Mhm.
once I started this path, and it's like it feels like now this is all coming to fruition now, and
Okay.
there's a lot of work ahead of us right now.
Okay. All right. Well, anybody who's watching, go ahead and, like I said, check out the Cult of Belial YouTube channel, Facebook group, Instagram page. I'll have all those links below in the video description. Paolo, it's been very good talking with you, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Hell yeah, dude! Thanks for having me on. You can invite me on whenever you want.
All right, man. We'll do. Everybody who's watching, like and subscribe to Dark Sorcery.